you won't be able to test the product until you get it into the market. But there's some other things you can do around the edges. You might do a Facebook poll, you might do an Instagram poll, you might do a friends and family poll. But what I say to people though is if it's friends and family, ask them for the money. Yeah. Go to them and say, well, I'm doing pre-orders on this product. You give me the $50 today and you will be first in line to get my XYZ product. And that will tell you if someone is willing to hand over their money. Because I've seen this so many times where clients will ask their friends and family, what do you think of this product? And I can guarantee you, nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news. Everyone wants to talk it up. And so you'll go to them and say, look, I've invented this amazing product, or I've made this amazing yoga mat and I'm selling it for $50. What do you think? And they'll all say, wow, it's amazing. You're so good. Wow, this is such a great journey you're on and you're going to change your life. And what an incredible product. And that's when I say to them, well, go back to those very same people and ask for the money. Now you find that they don't want to hand over the money. That's going to be your first red flag, right? Because if it was so amazing and they really wanted to support you and your business, your new business's success, they would hand over the cash. So that is the first thing. The other thing you can do, let's say you've been through that process and you're thinking, okay, they kind of like it, but you don't really know until you take it to the proper market. So this comes down to MOQs, right? What is MOQ? Minimum order quantity. Some people get into this business and they get railroaded by the manufacturer. So this is what happens. You've come up with your unique yoga mat. You haven't tested it in the marketplace yet, but you talk to the manufacturer and they say, in order to do this particular yoga mat, you're going to need to buy 10,000 units as a minimum, and we'll give it to you for, let's say $4 each. Now, the problem is that you haven't tested it. So all of a sudden if you go ahead with that, you're going to have 10,000 units in the marketplace, of which you now need to store somewhere, right? And storage costs money, and you don't even know if it's going to sell, right? Because what you're taught in a lot of these Amazon training programs is to get the price down as much as possible. And that sometimes is not in your favor, right? So the Chinese, for example, manufacturer might be thinking that you want to get the price down because probably by this time you've negotiated down to $4 and you're not willing to go any higher. But here's the trick. Go back to the manufacturer and say, look, I don't want to get 10,000 units. I'm testing the market. I want, let's say, even 100 units. Okay. Well, the manufacturer is going to say, I can't do 100 units, but he's only saying, this is the lost in translation part. He's only saying I can't do 100 units if I'm going to charge you $4. Okay. But you'll say, well, what price is for 100? How much per unit? Now he might say, well, it's $10 per unit, right? So he can do it, but he's just going to charge you a higher price. In the beginning, your goal is not to make money. Your goal is to test the product in the marketplace. And even if you have to pay $10 a unit, and even if you break even, and even if you kind of don't really break even and you come out at a loss, at least you know whether that product was going to be a fit in the marketplace. So let's walk this out practically. You've bought your 100 units, you've paid $10 a unit. It's now cost you $1,000 only plus shipping. You put them into the marketplace, you do all your amazing pictures and you optimize the listing. And then you wait and see, do people want to buy this product for whatever the price point is, $30 or $50? If they do, you now know you're onto a winning product. You can now go back to your manufacturer and then start talking how much for 1,000 units, how much for 5,000 units. And that's going to be based on what you're comfortable with moving forward within that marketplace. So that is how you can validate your product without going completely bankrupt. And remember, the first scenario was 10,000 units. You could have spent $40,000 on units and maybe they didn't work out. You would have lost all your money. So the other thing to think about when going into the market is profit margins. Now, it's not just profit margin. It's actually also how much you should sell a particular product for. I made this very same mistake, okay? I made the MOQ mistake and I also made the profit margin mistake. And that is that my product, and we're talking about the chamois. If you want to know more about the chamois, go all the way back to the very first episode where I'd go a little bit deeper in the chamois. But the chamois was costing me about $1.50. and I was able to sell that for about $10 to $15. Okay. Now the problem was I was thinking, wow, $1.50, how cheap is that? I could just buy a bazillion of these and look at all the margin between $1.50 and $15. But what I didn't take into account was the Amazon fees. And the biggest one I didn't take into account was how much money I was going to need to spend on advertising. Because although the product's actually in Amazon, you still need eyeballs on your product. And I can tell you, when you're in the car chamois niche, you're not going on day one, you're not going to be on the first page. So you're not going to type in car chamois and you're going to be just like smack bang ready for people to buy. You're going to be pages and pages behind. So the only way for you to get to the front page at that point is by paying for advertising, and advertising costs money. And you can imagine if you've got, after Amazon fees, let's say about $10, you've only now got about $8.50, let's say $8 of actual gross profit to spend now on advertising. And I can tell you what, when someone's pressing the button on your ad in Amazon, it could be anywhere from up to like $2 or $3 a click. So you can imagine, like, in 3 clicks, all your money is gone, and you might even make a sale, but you're now negative. Okay. So that's why you've got to think about this profit margin. Now, I would suggest, here's the trick. Make sure that you've got at least, I like to have cost of goods times by at least 3. So if you're buying it for $10 landed, I want to be selling it for at least $30. And I also want to have a product in the market that's at least $30 retail, okay? Because as you can imagine, if I exaggerate this out a little bit, let's say you're selling a product for $100, but it's only costing you $35. Minus some fees, you're probably going to have about $50 to spend on pay per click, right? So even if they spend, if they click 3 times and it's now $9, in the first scenario, we lost all our money. In this scenario, we've got way more fat in the product, and we've now got some profit margin left over, which means money in your pocket, which means you can continue on making more sales rather than going backwards. So guys, let's dive a little bit deeper into a particular scenario that has just come across my desk recently. And it was a client of mine who's new to the e-commerce space, right? But he's a great inventor and he has this amazing product. And you know what? Over my many, many years of being in this space, I've been privy to hundreds and hundreds of products, right? There's so many products that I've actually seen, I can't even remember them all. And there's so many inventors that I've met that I can't remember all of them too. But there's one thing that stands out with all inventors is that they're good at inventing a product, but sometimes they're not good at product market fit. What does that mean? It means they're great at their own idea and thinking it's amazing, but they don't take the next step of testing it out in the marketplace. Generally speaking, they'll ask their family and friends, which give them a big thumbs up and you should proceed with it, but they don't actually test it in the market and will someone buy it?